did my undergraduate at Harvard College, and I was an anthropology major, but I took several folklore classes. They have a very good folklore program there at Harvard. And so that was sort of a background interest of mine. And then when I got done with college, I was out of school for a few years. I found myself at one point backpacking through Ireland. And
why?
Why not? I wanted to see the world. I hadn't seen much of it. And so I grabbed a backpack and spent a summer going all around and talking to people. I think that was probably what got my interest restarted in going back to school and in studying folklore. So after I went back to Berkeley, and I realized I just happened to be in Berkeley where Alan Dundes was teaching, I applied for and was accepted into the master's program there. I didn't even know who Alan Dundes was at that point. So I got accepted, and then I thought, well, who is this person? And I went into a bookstore, and I saw not only all these books by him, but then I saw books about him, and he was still alive. And I thought, oh my God, who am I working with? So once I started taking my first folklore class with Dundes, he was such a charismatic figure and so eloquent that within 2 weeks I realized I was going to do folklore for the rest of my life. And I continued to do that. I went on to a PhD at Berkeley as well, and continuing working with Alan Dundes. And continued to work with Irish folklore for all my graduate career, spending time in Ireland, learning the language. One of the things that I realized is the importance of learning the language, that you can't be an expert in an area of folklore without actually knowing the native language. So that was a big lesson I learned from that. And then I've just continued on with folklore and all sorts of topics.
So what are your main research interests?
My main research interest, that's maybe a problem because I'm interested in just about everything. So what do I dedicate my time towards is maybe better than talking about my interest. Because again, I'm interested in people. I'm interested in what people believe, what they say, what they sing. So I've done all sorts of different things on traditional Irish folklore. I spent a lot of time in Ethiopia, which was just a fantastic place for a folklorist. I was very interested in folk religious practices there. I did some work on proverbs there. I've done a lot of stuff on internet folklore, which has become a bigger and bigger part of our culture. And since then, recently, I've had a couple of other projects. I've become very, very interested in mythology, especially non-Western mythology. I come from an area with a lot of Native Americans, so I've always had an interest in Native American folklore and mythology. That continues to be a major interest. And right now I'm working on a project about human animals, how humans think of animals, and this question of personhood and how we express that in our culture. Interestingly enough, I think that folklore is playing an increasingly important role in human culture, especially through the internet and online materials. As people spend more and more time online, we see more and more internet folklore, things that are authored by many people, have no one author on them, collectively produced. And this is just a fascinating and I think amazing development with some amazing art that it has no author attached, that has no copyright. Very often people say, well, if there's no copyright and people weren't making money, why would people do art? But they do. I think the question is the same as, well, why do people tell jokes at a party? You get some sort of, you're engaged in creating culture, and I think people like to be a part of that. So when people realized that they could get their voices heard on the internet exploded with all of this sort of creative work. And it wasn't that people were necessarily trying to make money or be famous, they just wanted to be involved in this process of creating human culture. And I think it's a very optimistic and exciting development.